And it was on Flickr. It wasn't on Instagram because I didn't have Instagram. Right. Practicing without guidelines, without any kind of grid. I was thinking about, well, maybe I could make a living doing tattoos. Well, definitely the Roman capitals are very, 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 very difficult. Castro, Laia Soler, and Gina Serret.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Calligraphy Masters Podcast. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and click the bell icon so you get a notification for the upcoming episodes. The winner of last week commenting challenge will be in the pinned comment of this episode. And if you want to get a chance to win one of those prints next week, drop a comment after you watch the video with your top 3 favorite parts of it. Today's guest is Joan Quiros, a super cool calligrapher, some amazing skills. This work is by him. He sent it last time that we recorded episode, so this is actually the second time we record the episode. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I mean, I don't need to explain the podcast, you've already done it. I just need to ask one question because I don't want to mess this. How do I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, it's Joan Quiros.
Joan Quiros. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking Juan, but then I was like, man, maybe this is not Juan. Joan Quiros.
No. There's a lot of people who call me Juan. Actually it's the same. My name is Juan, but in Valencian because I'm from Valencia, and here we speak Valencian. It's very close to Catalan. It's a language inside of Spain, and it's a translation. So my name is actually Juan, but it's the Valencian version of Juan. So yeah.
So how are you, bro?
Thanks so much, Milen. Thanks for having me. I'm very glad to have here to be here again. So I'm very, very, very excited, and thank you.
I'm annoyed that I lost like what it was like, I think 5 or 6 episodes, and actually this was the reason that I put the podcast on hold, because it really messed up with with my mind. I mean, it was so much work and all of a sudden it was lost. But yeah,
I can't imagine. It must be frustrating. So yeah.
It's very annoying but I don't know, it's probably my mistake because I don't know, like I've lost many things during those years. Probably it's my mistake somehow, but I have two in external hard drives, SSDs, where I keep my data just to be safe. But the problem is those external hard drives, they got broken as well. So I have the data there, but I just cannot take it back to the computer. But anyways, man, we're not here to talk about me. Today we're here to talk about your journey, bro. I don't need to explain much because you already done this. And it's funny because it's been like, what, 2 years, and I'm going to be listening and I don't remember anything, but I'm sure while we talk, I will remember some stuff. But let's start with how old are you, where are you from, and how everything started with you with calligraphy and lettering, brother.
Well, so I'm 40 years, almost 40. I'm 39. I'm turning 40 at the end of this year. So,
bro, like the last few guests on the podcast are all like 40, and every time somebody says 40, I'm like, dude, you don't
really?
look like 40. I hope I look like you when I'm 40, man.
Well, I'm getting older, little by little. I feel older a little bit.
Do you feel?
Well, yeah. The thing is that I'm also a teacher. I teach calligraphy, and as the time goes by, my students are at the same age, but I'm getting older because more or less the average the average is maybe 20-25 years of my students. But well, I'm getting older, but for me they are always the same age. So yeah, I'm 39 years old. I'm turning 40 at the end of this year. I'm from Valencia, Spain. It's a city in the Mediterranean coast. And well, I'm a calligrapher and a lettering artist, and I make a living from it. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I know this. Like, I want to know, like, how everything started. Like, what was your childhood? Did you have interest with about letters from a very young age, or did you study something about calligraphy, or how did you start actually everything? What was the process in starting and discovering calligraphy and lettering?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my favorite subject at school was art and drawing. But then, when I was a teenager, I became interested in graffiti and skateboarding, punk rock music, hip hop music. And well, I always say that that's my when everything started, when I was a teenager. If I remember correct, it was in 1995, 1996. I discovered graffiti. I started drawing letters. I started painting on the street. So yeah, I think that's the beginning of my passion for letters.
Okay, but like I mean, this is it's funny because 1990 something, as you said, I think a lot of us at that time were interested with graffiti. Like I myself, I was much younger, not much younger, but I was a bit younger at that time. But I remember in this time I was also interested in graffiti, so I guess it was going worldwide at that point. But do you remember at what age and how exactly did you discover calligraphy? Because for example, me, I was 23 when I discovered calligraphy. Before this, I always loved letters, but I didn't even know that calligraphy existed, you know.
Yeah, it happened the same to me because, well, I was excited about graffiti, drawing letters, doing tags, bombing the city. But then, graffiti led me to study graphic design. And when I studied graphic design, I didn't learn calligraphy at all. I learned typography and how typography works and everything. So I became interested in typography
Mhm.
before calligraphy. So that's a little bit weird, but
I don't think it's weird, man. I think it's actually a very important step because I mean typography is it's based somehow on calligraphy, but at the same time, a lot of the masters they were studying typography before they
yeah,
went into calligraphy, you know. So
yeah.
this is I think this helped you in a way.
Yeah, it helped me, but for me it's weird because for me the root of everything is calligraphy, and
Yeah.
then but well maybe it's because studying graphic design in the 21st century means that studying typography before calligraphy. I mean, it's about technology and it's about computers and everything. So I could say that I discovered calligraphy in maybe 2010 or yeah, 12 years ago or something like that. I remember the first things I saw was in on Flickr, the works of Uriol Miró, who later was one of my teachers, and the work of Luca Barcelona. I remember it was maybe 2010 or 2012 or something like that, and it was on Flickr. It wasn't on Instagram because I didn't have Instagram. On Facebook, I was messing around. I didn't have any connections about calligraphy or lettering or something like that. So
This is so funny, man. Yesterday I was recording with Jackson Alves, and he was speaking like that his journey started when he was uploading his calligraphy to Flickr. Now,
really,
now a second person in a row talks about Flickr. That's interesting.
yeah, because Flickr was a thing back in 2008, 2010, because I also like photography. I really like photography. And then I used to spend a lot of hours there on Flickr, and I used to see photography and calligraphy, and I think it was the equivalent of Instagram back in the days.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess it was one of the few places where you could have something like a portfolio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
And you said you discovered calligraphy through Oreo, like
Uriel Miro. Yeah.
remember, like it's a bit hard this name. I mean, I know this dude. Like, I actually had forgotten about him. Now that you mentioned him, I was like, oh wait,
Mhm.
I know this guy. And when you discovered his work, like, how did you get interested? Like, what did you start with? Do you remember the first script you started with? Do you remember the first script you learned, or I mean, not mastered, but at least start getting good with?
Yeah, I think is the natural way for me was to buy a brush and
Okay.
then to start messing around. I remember I bought, because I used to have flat pen, flat nibs like
Mm-hmm.
browsers and everything, because I studied an arts bachelor's degree,
Okay.
and then I bought them back in when I was study the bachelor's degree in arts, just to draw and to mess around, and yeah, but
You were using those to draw?
yeah, because it was to do thick strokes. It
Okay.
was it was very 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 nice to do thick strokes, thick strokes and thick and uniform strokes. So it works well for drawing. So yeah, and but I was more engaged to the brush. I
Okay.
Because for me it was more natural.
You talk about flat brush, right?
No, the pentel brush, the
Oh,
pointed brush.
okay.
So I bought a pentel brush, and then I started to experiment on my own. So obviously everything was very 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 bad. It was awful. So yeah, I started to mess around to try to understand how the tool works, how if you make pressure, it behaves in one way. If you release the pressure, it behaves in another way. So yeah, I started to experiment, and but without any discipline, just to waste paper and then to mess around.
I mean, back then there was not so much information and videos online at all. So
No.
was it all self-taught, or it came to the point you bought a book or you went to a workshop? Like, how did it go for you?
So yeah, I started. I remember when bought the brush. I think it was 2012. At the end, I think it was maybe September, October, or 2012. I bought this pentel, and then I started to mess around, and then I realized that I was in the need to have a guide or a method to practice. And then I remember I discovered the Ivan Castro's work, and
Okay.
I realized that he was coming to Valencia in February of 2013. And yeah, I decided to enroll the workshop, and it was a life changing for me. It changed it changed everything for me.
So it
Yeah,
was a brush workshop or what?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was a brush pen workshop, and yeah, and I learned a lot of things there. And I remember I learned the main thing for me, it was that I learned a method for practicing.
Okay.
And the different parts of the letter you have to take care about. And I mean, to take care into the details about how the tool works, how the letters, the proportion of the letters, also the white space. And well, for me it was mind blowing, because well, then I discovered that calligraphy is more about getting, um, it's a post activity. It's a slow activity.
Mm-hmm.
So it forced me also to take care about the rhythm, the way I practice, to make guidelines when I practice, because I was practicing without guidelines, without any kind of grid. And then it was for me it was amazing.
Okay, you said like you discovered a new way of practice. Was it only the guidelines that changed, or was it something else that was differentiating from your practice before versus what you've learned? Like, despite the guidelines, what else was that you learned that was improved your practicing?
Yeah, it was also the logic behind the contrast and also the brush strokes. And when this basic rule in when you are working with a brush, when you go down, you press the brush and it's thick, and then when you go up, you release the pressure, and then the stroke is thin. This kind of things, I think I was some kind of doing instinctively in an instinct,
Yeah.
but I discovered that the logic behind that, and and to keep spacing well, to take care about the rhythm in the writing, and also when doing expressive work, to do it carefully when you start to do calligraphy, and then when you I mean also the main thing I learned is to learn first the basis and the more formal way of writing,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you know everything about um, formal calligraphy, then you can start to play and you can start to break the rules. So I think that's the main thing I learned.
It's because of the graffiti, because in graffiti you do your own thing, and going to calligraphy you want to do your own thing, but you have to have the base, right?
Yeah, that's it. Because graffiti writers, all we are self-taught.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have our own style, because for me graffiti was a kind of expression, a way to express myself. So yeah, you have you try to have a distinct style to express your feelings or your thoughts in a piece, no? But calligraphy works in a different way. So you have to, for me, or at least as I conceive calligraphy, is that you have to start by the basis to learn the more formal aspects of calligraphy, and then little by little you develop your own voice and your own style.
And from there on, what happened? Like after this workshop, like what were your next steps into calligraphy? Like next scripts that you learned, next, I don't know, some book that helped you a lot, or some other workshops you that attended and changed things for you. Also, at
Yeah.
this point, did you know that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life, or you were just still getting into calligraphy and being just, oh, this is so cool?
Yeah. So at that time, I had a graphic design studio with two partners, and then I was doing calligraphy just for myself. I was doing calligraphy during my free time, at weekends, at night. But since that workshop, I take it very seriously, and it was like a kind of the fire that burned everything, and it started everything for me, and then it became a kind of obsession for me. I mean, I became crazy, addicted to calligraphy, addicted to practicing calligraphy. So yeah, for me, it wasn't just a hobby. I think that I was it was like a way to disconnect from work.
Mm-hmm.
So to evade myself, to spend my free time doing calligraphy, and that's it. But then I started to share my calligraphy work on Instagram, because it was at the same time I opened my Instagram account. I opened my Instagram account in 2013 or something like that. And
Okay.
then I started to share the things I was doing on my free time, at weekends, my practice, my exercises, and everything. So for me, it wasn't a job; it wasn't just a hobby. And I remember in 2014, I moved to London because, as I told you before, I was having a studio with two partners, and we decided to move the studio to London.
Okay.
And yeah, because here in Valencia, we wasn't growing as a studio, as a professional. So we decided to take the step and to move the studio to London. And then after, I mean, 4 months or something, we decided to split up and to dissolve the studio and to
Okay.
start to start working each one on our own. So yeah, that was my like a breaking point. I decided to, because I was working as with my own studio since 2010, so it was 4 years at that time that I was working more or less on my own with my own business. So I didn't want to end on an agency or on a studio working for someone. So I thought, well, maybe I can try to make a living from calligraphy and lettering. And well, I took the step and I decided to become freelance there in London in 2014. And well, it was it's a decision that I will never regret, because I'm very happy, because yeah, I'm since then I've been doing it in independently, in an independent way.
Okay. What were those steps like? What commissions or what were you getting in to begin with? Like, how did you start at making a living from calligraphy?
So well, actually, from calligraphy, um, I wasn't making a living in 100% from calligraphy. It
Mm-hmm.
was a mix on calligraphy and lettering.
Yeah.
So because I was doing lettering, so I could do logotypes and I could do packaging. So I started to send a lot of emails to a lot of agencies with my portfolio.
Okay.
And then I got some commissions from agencies based in London. About that, I was doing wine labels, whiskey labels, logotypes, and yeah, and I started on that way, mixing calligraphy and lettering, or just lettering, or just calligraphy. But yeah,
But
on
I didn't hear, but did you know lettering before you start calligraphy? Because now all of a sudden you talk about lettering. Is it something
yeah.
you knew before that, or you learned in the process after starting calligraphy?
Yeah, I was um, more aware of lettering before calligraphy, because for me it was more natural coming from graffiti, that is drawing letters.
Yeah.
For me, I became uh, first interested in lettering, and then later in calligraphy, because for me I was already doing lettering when I was doing graffiti,
Mm-hmm.
because while I was doing graffiti and I was studying graphic design at the same time, I was doing calligraphy for trying to imitate cholo tattoos or Chicano style lettering, and that kind of stuff. So because when I was studying graphic design, I also was considering to become a tattoo artist. So I was thinking about, well, maybe I could make a living doing tattoos or lettering for tattoos or this kind of stuff. But then came calligraphy came to the scene, and then I mixed both disciplines, calligraphy and lettering, because for me both are interchangeable. I mean, they are very, very, very compatible, because if you have a solid based on calligraphy, you can develop also lettering, because you can understand the logic behind the letters. So yeah.
You think so? Because You know, like I love lettering. Like I love watching people do some amazing lettering, but I've never done it because for me it looks like, oh man, this is just so much work. I mean, sometimes making a piece in calligraphy takes me so much time, but if I have to draw all the letters for me, man, I can't imagine how much time I have to put in.
Yeah, but then you should imagine type designers how much time they spend doing a typeface, because I started a typeface maybe 4 years ago, and
Okay.
I haven't finished it yet. So because the process is so long, it takes, this typeface I keep I taking it and abandoning it. So uh,
But you do it all
for
by yourself.
yeah, all by myself. Yeah.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
this tie takes more time. Like some, like usually, I guess people that do typefaces are with groups of people, like few people working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I think that maybe lettering is the lettering process is very long, I think about type designers. So it makes me more comfortable working on a typeface, maybe working on a lettering maybe for 2 3 days or a week or something like that, depending on the lettering. But well, I enjoy the process also because I start everything by hand. So I the main thing or the main thing I like about my work is that everything is starts handmade. So that's why I used to do graffiti,
Mhm.
because I had this impulse to do things with my hands. So I I really enjoy it.
But okay, you told me you started with brush calligraphy. Like, I'm interested to tell me when, like, what was your first either broad edge or pointed pen script that you learned, and how did you learn it? Like, was it something like Gothic or I don't know, copper plate, or what one of those parts of calligraphy? What was the
Mhm.
first you learned or you were most interested in?
I think it was italics, yeah, because
Okay,
it was similar to brush lettering or to brush, yeah.
okay,
But well, I didn't succeed. That I failed because for me, because the broad edge, you have to take into consideration the angle also. I sucked at that, and then I remember that I decided to give black letter a try. So yeah, I started to doing black letter. I remember because I have it on my mind, and it was very 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 bad spaced, and the spacing was awful, and I didn't have a clue how the ductus
works.
worked, and yeah, and I remember that I sucked at that, and because the next workshop I took, it was in 2015 in here in Valencia, because I came from London to see my family,
Mhm.
and again Ivan Castro was coming to Valencia to give a workshop, and I decided, wait, maybe I can take advantage of the trip. I visit my family, and then I attend the workshop, and it was foundational hand,
Okay.
and it was my first. Well, no, it wasn't my first workshop in with a broad edge nib, because when I was, well, in 2000 and early 2014,
Mhm.
I I um I took an online workshop with Uriol Miro about black letter. Yeah, I remember.
There were online workshops back in 2014.
Well, it was a course. It was in Domestika.
Okay, I see.
He has a course about Rudolf Koch's black letter and textura Gothic. So I remember when I was in London, I bought that online course, and
Okay.
then I started to practice black letter in a more formal way, with yeah, with a more uh, strict way. I mean, with all the space, taking care about the spacing and the angle and everything. So yeah, I think it was my first serious incursion into flat pen
Okay.
calligraphy. Yeah.
When I go to your profile, there is a lot of work, and there is something specific I want to talk about because at least I haven't, like, there are some people working on it, but somehow it's not so common for people to work on new Neuland, and you do some amazing Neuland. So can you
Thank
tell
you.
me, when your interest started for Neuland? Did you attend at a workshop, or like how did it start all with Neuland?
Well, I became, because when I did this online course in Domestika
Mm-hmm.
with Uriol Miró and everything, he shows textura black letter based on Rudolf Koch's work, and then I discovered I dug into Koch's work, and I discovered Neuland, and I was amazed about Neuland. I say, what? This is like a chunky Roman, very black, with very compact and very packed, and with very little white space. So I was amazed, and then I didn't try it because for me it was a little bit difficult. Well, I gave a little try, but again I was a little bit frustrated with the results because I didn't understand how, because well, Neuland started as a typeface, and then Koch created the calligraphy models. So
Really?
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah. Rudolf Koch created Neuland in the early in 1910 or something like that, on 1919, or yeah, it was in the early 20th century. So he created Neuland directly cutting with the how do you say the this tool for carving, the carving tools
Oh,
to carve nylon, like
yeah. I don't know the
to
name either, but I know
it's
what you're
a
talking
yeah,
about.
the wood carving tool.
Yeah.
So he started to carve letters, and
Okay.
then he created Neuland. So Neuland, it doesn't come from calligraphy, it comes from carving into the wood. So then he created the calligraphy style. He adapted Neuland to calligraphy then.
Huh.
So yeah, for me, I didn't understand how it worked, because I was more familiar with black letter in terms of, well, 40-45 degrees, and then that, and then but well, for me, I didn't consider to do calligraphy with zero degrees or
Hmm.
90 degrees. So yeah, I gave a try, but I didn't like the results. And then I think it was in 2016. Again, I attended a workshop with Uriol Miró,
Have
but
you attended only workshops with him?
almost, yeah, almost with Keith Adams, Amanda Adams, Uriol Miró, and Ivan Castro, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and yeah, because he usually teach workshops in Catalonia.
Mhm.
So I took the car, and then I went there, and he was teaching yeah, Neuland and expressive romance. So to do romance, but in an expressive way. So in the same workshop, he was also teaching Neuland.
Like one workshop with two styles, like two
Yeah,
scripts.
because it was a 3 or 4 day workshop. So
Okay,
yeah, it
okay.
was it's this kind of workshop where you sleep also there, and then yeah,
Wow,
so it's like a calligraphy camp or something like that. Yeah.
man, that sounds so nice.
Yeah, and I learned the basis of Neuland there, and then I started to experiment on my own. So
Did you
yeah,
start it with a broad edge nib or with
yeah,
a brush? Because I know you
yeah.
can do Neuland with both brush and in a nib.
Mhm. Yeah, I started with a nib, with a metallic nib, and then from then I decided to experiment with a brush also on my own. And I have to say that it's very, very, very fun to do that.
But which of both do you think it's easier, or which gives you a better results, the brush or the nib?
Hmm.
About Neuland.
It depends, because with the nib you can get more abrupt result. I mean, with more edge curves or more edge finishings on the letter. But with the brush, you can get smooth O's and more rounded O's, and because you can twist the brush and you can play with the flexibility of the brush. So yeah, I really like both. Because they give different results. But I have to say that doing, in terms of executing the letter, not the results, but the process of doing the letters, I really enjoy the flat brush with Neuland. It's very, very, very fun.
Like, how many scripts do you know by, like, a number of scripts you have mastered
Wow.
approximately?
Well, because
Okay, not mastered. You know, like how many scripts you can write. You feel
I can write.
comfortable with. You know.
Okay. Because I remember this question the last time we spoke, and since then I've been studying a lot of calligraphy. So
Okay, that's cool.
well, I can do rustic capitals.
Okay.
I can do quadrata.
Yes.
I can do uncial,
Yeah. Brush
but
lettering,
brush lettering, yeah.
brush pen lettering.
Because I'm thinking historically also.
Oh, okay, okay. Fair
Um,
enough.
because I know two kinds of uncial. I don't know if you say uncial or uncials or I
Whatever. I say
uncials,
I call it unshows, but I don't know.
uncials.
Everybody say
Okay,
different things. You know?
uncials. I know natural uncial and artificial uncial.
Yeah.
I know I can do Roman capitals with brush.
Okay.
I I do Roman capitals with nib with a flat pen. Um, what else? What else?
Neuland.
Neuland, Italic, Carolingian, foundational,
What?
um,
That's already
textura.
man. Okay, so that's played. That's 11 by now. So my question
Okay.
is, from all these scripts, which was the easiest to learn and which was the hardest one?
Well, definitely the Roman capitals are very, 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 very difficult. That's what I say. I can do Roman capitals, but I don't master Roman capitals because they are very, very, very hard to do because they are so simple that every little mistake in terms of proportion it shines. so so yeah, I think it's very, very difficult.
Okay, and which one is the easiest in that case?
The easiest, maybe not the easiest, but the more natural, or the one that you can improve um, quite fast. Maybe it's Carolingian.
Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't expect this at
Carolingian
all.
or foundational, because they are very they are well they are not very complicated. I mean, they are simple forms. They are, in fact, if you ask me, which style I could recommend to start, or for beginners to start doing calligraphy, I would say maybe foundational hand or Carolingian. They are almost there. They are very similar, or almost the same. But then you can understand the how the pen angle works, and then they are very rounded. The shapes are very rounded, so you can, because historically, after the Carolingian came black letter, and then black letter, the early or the proto-Gothic or the early black letter, it's a very, very, very compact Carolingian. So it evolved. I mean, the way black letter evolved, it was compacting the Carolingian letters, doing narrower and narrower and narrower, and then breaking the strokes and breaking the ductus. And for me, is the basis of the minuscule writing, because I think that's why Edward Johnston called his style foundational hand, because it's the foundation of the minuscule or the small letter. So
that's interesting, because that's funny. Like, I didn't expect this answer, because for me, I think the easiest are Ansho and Neuland. I don't know, for some reason, like, I haven't even, like, I didn't have any difficulties. I just, when I look the letters and I just do them, or this was at least back then, and I never like studied them that deep. It just, I mean, I might not do them perfect right away, but if I give a bit more attention, it becomes very nice, at least in my opinion. And also, like Paul Antonius, like I showed him once one piece of Neuland. I was just doing some stuff, and he was like, "Oh, this is very nice." And I was like, "Really?" I didn't expect it, but yeah. And it's funny, because he told me the best, if you're not into, like, if you don't have any knowledge in calligraphy, it's best to start with textura quadrata. And now you say, and now you say foundational, and I'm like, really, huh? And
yes, but for me is that spacing black letter is very, very, very difficult.
Really?
So for me, it comes more natural to space Carolingian rather than black letter, because black letter is very, for at least for me. I have to say that Neuland is quite easy to execute and to learn, but also I have to say that I learned Neuland once I already studied Roman capitals. So for me it's like like Neuland is a game. Neuland is like playing with letters. I have to say that. But the problem with for me, the problem with Neuland is that they are only majuscules. They are only uppercase. So I think it's good to start to start doing calligraphy, to learn to do calligraphy, to start with a style that combines majuscules and minuscules, to have ascenders and descenders, to learn how everything works. I mean, to learn the basis, because, well, Neuland it's very fun and it's very easy, because it's 0 degrees, 90 degrees, and then let's play. But in order to understand, because I think it's easier to learn maybe Carolingian, because, well, in Carolingian you have to keep the 30-degree angle and keep spacing well and everything. But once you know to do Carolingian, if you take Neuland, it's just a game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because like I say Neuland is very easy for me, but this is not the first script that I tried. I mean, I already had like some experience with Fracture and some other scripts, so it might be easy because I have experience with other, but I don't know, it's to me it was like, okay, those are just very straight shapes. I mean, nothing confusing, you know. For example, in Fracture you have to change angle, manipulate the pen sometimes, where in Neuland is just, I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. When I teach Neuland, I have to say that people get it instantly. I mean, it's a very nice style to introduce yourself in calligraphy. So, and well, people when at the end of the workshop, people know how to do letters and know how to do calligraphy. So, well, it's a really nice style to start calligraphy.
It's funny that you said when you teach Neuland, because my next questions was exactly about teaching. Like, at what point in your calligraphy lettering journey you start teaching? Like, when did you felt you were ready to teach? Did you decide it, or some people started asking you to teach them? And what scripts did you start teaching people?
Yeah, I never considered teaching,
Okay.
never. But it was before moving to London. A guy I know from Madrid, he proposed me to teach a calligraphy workshop there in Madrid, and then I said, well, let's give it a try. And it was about brush lettering, brush calligraphy, italic with a brush pen. And because I already had a year and a half experience on that style, and actually it was the only one I uh, I knew at that time. So yeah, he proposed me to teach a calligraphy workshop there, and yeah, well, I said, well, it could be a great start. And then I moved to London. I didn't teach there. I just worked because at that time also I didn't feel confident enough to teach calligraphy in English. So for me, it was it was a nightmare. So it was back in 2016 when I came back to Valencia that a friend of mine who was teaching in a master's in design here proposed me to teach calligraphy there. And then yeah, I started to teach in a more serious way in because nowadays I'm teaching in three masters in design and illustration. And then I'm also teaching in Barcelona in a course called Visions with Uriol Miró, Ivan Castro, Laia Soler, and Gina Serret. So I'm
Okay.
very happy about that. So yeah, it was in I would say that in 2016 I started to teach seriously.
What style?
In um, foundational hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I started teaching foundational hand, and then later I expanded the repertoire, and I expanded to well now I now I can offer workshops in all hands I know, in all the hands I know. So
Okay, but okay, you offer different workshop. Which one is your favorite to teach?
good question. Because it's like asking me which one is my favorite style. So that's
You don't have a favorite one?
it's very difficult to me to pick just one because
You can pick two, three. I don't know.
yeah, well, yeah, okay. So I have to say that I really enjoy teaching foundational hand again,
Okay.
because in that way people can understand the roots of typography, how typography works. Because when I'm teaching Carolingian and foundational hand, I insist a lot in the way also letters work, and also because for me Carolingian and foundational is the root of typography, the root of all the minuscule letters.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy it because people can see how typography works by practicing calligraphy. So how contrast works, how letter spacing works, why this N is on that way, why this G is in that way. So I really enjoy it, and also I enjoy teaching Neuland and black letter, and well, I I, I, I I really enjoy the act of teaching. So and sharing my knowledge, because also by preparing all the material and preparing all the workshop, I have to study,
Okay.
and it forced me to study to learn how to explain it. Because that's very tricky.
Okay, give me some tips, because I've been into calligraphy 7 or 8 years, and now end of the month I'll give my first workshop, and I've never
Mhm.
teach, and I'm really like, what, I don't know what to do. Like in few days I'll speak with Paul Antonio. He's like, tell me how you're thinking to teach, and I'll tell you like what to fix. So
Yeah,
what tips can you give me for teaching?
for teaching, well, be patient also. Because, well, I consider myself a very patient person, so I understand that each student has his or her own rhythm of learning. Also, they are different in all workshops are different levels of students. Also,
Mm,
usually my workshops are open to all levels, and well, I try to be patient with all the levels that are in the classroom. And you have to insist a lot, you have to repeat a lot the
oh.
same things, because not because people doesn't they listen when you
Mhm,
are explaining everything. They are listening, but by repeating the concepts, they are interiorizing. They are getting the concept inside them. So
mhm.
they are absorbing that content. So by repeating everything, they memorize it in a
I
way.
see.
And also, well, time is can be very tricky when you are teaching, because yeah, the problem I have when I'm teaching is that I want to explain a lot of things in very little time. So
When you do your workshops, is it 1 day workshop? Is it two? Because for example,
mhm,
mine is gonna be 2 days, like five hours each day.
yeah, usually my workshops are from 8 hours to 12 hours usually. Yeah, more
Okay.
or less. Yeah.
Yeah, something like me, just split into two
Mhm.
days. Hmm.
Yeah, usually I teach in 2 days. For example, when I teach Neuland, I can teach Neuland in 4 hours or 6 hours or
Yeah.
something like that. But if I have to teach black letter or uncials, or I prefer having 12 hours to teach everything very very careful, because when I teach also I do demonstrations, and then I try to give an individual critique to each student,
Mhm.
to if the student is struggling with the angle, or with the confidence tracing the letter, or what else, or if the person is left-handed,
Oh,
because
I was thinking, I really hope I don't have any left-handers. I was thinking about this, because I've spoken before on my other podcast with Paul Antonio, and he was very annoyed because there are some teachers, if there is a left-hander, they're like, oh, I can't teach. And
yeah,
we are supposed to teach everyone. I mean, I don't, I'm not a teacher, but I start speaking like, I mean, what I've learned is if you're teaching, you're supposed to teach both people. Like if it's a
yeah.
left-hander, you have to help him.
Mhm.
And
That's it.
I really hope I don't have any leftists, because I mean I know some things, I know how to help, but I'm not sure that I'll be so much of a help for our right-handed, you know.
Yeah, yeah. There are different techniques. Also, depending on the style. So, I try to adapt myself to the student. Also, to be very patient. To try to be very clear when I'm speaking, when I'm explaining everything. Also, when I start my courses, I try to give a historical approach, a historical introduction about where this style comes from, the evolution, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can say that be be very patient. Be yeah, and also eh, because teaching is very maybe because it comes natural from me. But I have to say that in the first workshops I talked, I was very nervous.
Okay.
I was scared, very 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 scared, because I'm introvert person. So yeah, so I'm a little bit shy sometimes. So
When you've done your works, first your workshops, it was kind of the beginning of your journey in calligraphy, right?
yeah, yeah,
And with me, I've been already like 7, 8
yeah,
years. I mean, I,
yeah,
I I shoot a lot of videos and podcasts, and I
yeah.
mean now I feel comfy. But I remember when I was starting, I was alone in my room in the camera, and I'm like, oh. So, and I also been bartender for 11 years. I mean, this is actually something that made me be introverted because I've seen a lot of bad stuff with all these
Yeah,
bars. But I
and
think
that's
I,
a skill. That's a skill to deal with people. That's a very 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 nice skill to have.
I mean, at this point, I am also very introverted, but at least I have experience with people. So I think I hope I should not be nervous.
No, no, be calm, and also you have to think that if people are there trying to learn, is that it means that you know more
Yeah.
than them, and then you have more knowledge. So everything you can give about technique, about knowledge, they will appreciate. The thing I've learned during these years is that very people are very very appreciative about you giving them knowledge, and then yeah, because I
What does it mean now? Let's.
knowledge, yeah, the knowledge, your knowledge, your um
I just don't know. I
the
never heard
the
this
the,
before.
the things you know,
Okay.
the everything you know. Yeah,
Okay, I see. Huh.
yeah. So when you share your skills, and you share how to do everything, or how to do this letter, or how to manipulate the angle, or how to move this pen in that way to have this kind of finishing on the letter or something like that. So they are very 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 appreciative. So yeah, um I don't know, because yeah, I'm very lucky, because all the students I have had during these years, they are very very nice people, and they are always being very very grateful about me teaching them. So yeah.
This sounds so cool, man. I got excited.
Yeah, you will do it. You can do it. So yeah, you
I
you
hope
you, you
so.
won't have you won't have a problem about
Because,
that.
like, I've been 8 years into calligraphy, but to be honest, I consider myself very beginner. I don't consider myself somebody who can teach, but people ask me, and I know like the major level in Bulgaria with calligraphy, most people don't know much. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But if you ask me, I need to spend like years and years more into calligraphy so to be able to teach. But as you said earlier, I know something they don't. So I'm gonna give it a try, because also everybody that I've spoken with on podcasts and such stuff, everybody says like teaching is one of the best things, because you not only teach them, but a lot of people said whenever you teach other people, you learn a lot as well.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Yeah, that's very true, because Yeah, well, when I'm preparing all the materials to teach, I have to study. I have to learn a style, to learn how to do it, and then when I'm doing the teaching material, I'm also thinking how I'm going to explain it to
Huh.
the people in order to have them understand it
Yeah.
um, perfectly. So yeah, but the way is also that you have experience and you can share that experience. You have
Hmm.
an experience that they don't have.
Yeah.
So you the thing is that I also, when I'm teaching, I also share the struggles I had when I wasn't in their position, when I was learning. So they can the thing that I want to express is that you can um, having you as a teacher, they have a shortcut. I
Huh.
mean, you during these years you have learned calligraphy, you have practiced calligraphy, and you have committed mistakes,
Yes.
and you teaching them how to do things, how not to do things is a shortcut for them because um, yeah, you are sharing your experience.
Yeah, I got them. Like this is a good one because I never thought about this, but yeah, sharing my mistakes. That's a. I'll keep that in mind. This is a good one. Last 2 years, it's been with all the situation around the world.
Yeah.
Have you been doing online classes like teaching live on Zoom or something like this?
Yeah, I've been teaching online because I had no other way to teach during the pandemic. Because I said before, I teaching in different masters in design and illustration here at the university.
Mm-hmm.
The universities had to adapt their system to online teaching, so I had to adapt myself to the that's why I had to buy a decent microphone, a decent camera.
I was just about to ask, is this why you got the microphone?
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, because I had to buy a microphone because I have to be very clear in the things I say, how I explain it, and I didn't want to give my students an excuse.
Yeah.
So yeah, you understand me perfectly because I have a decent microphone, so that's not an excuse. So yeah, and I've been teaching some online classes because when I teach in Barcelona, I usually travel to Barcelona to
Mm-hmm.
teach. But if there's only one class or 3 hour session, I do it online. So yeah, I'm getting used to teach online. I haven't uh, talked on my own. I mean, the always when I've talked online, it's been inside a master or inside a big course, but I haven't organized an online workshop on my own. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about teaching my first online workshop on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I
No,
don't know if I will do it in Spanish or in English. I have to think about that.
that's why I asked you if you've done it, because this year I'm planning to start doing some calligraphy online workshops with Calligraphy Masters, and
Mhm.
I would love to have you as one of the teachers.
Yeah, you can count on me. So
Okay, that's cool.
yeah,
Like I'll keep that in mind, and when I'm 100% sure how the process will go, I will talk with you. But this
yeah,
is nice. That would be super nice.
yeah. I remember because I can't say that I'm fully prepared because there's always some things you can improve. But I remember in the summer of 2020, I almost did a master in audio visuals and sound and cameras and how to set up a scene and working with two cameras and a microphone. And I had to learn all that in the summer of 2020, because I wanted to be prepared to teach. So usually when I teach, I have two cameras and a microphone, and so yeah.
You never mentioned in our talk, but behind you I see a lot of books. In your journey, did you use any calligraphy lettering books? And if so, can you pick 3 that helped you a lot and that people can use on their journeys?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, because for me, one of the best ways to learn calligraphy on your own, if it's not a workshop, is by reading a lot of books, because there are a lot of very valuable knowledge inside them. For me, I have one of them here.
Okay.
For me, this one is one of the best historical scripts.
Okay. By who?
But Stan Knight.
Okay.
Historical Scripts, a handbook for calligraphers by Stan Knight. It's a very historical approach about calligraphy, and it's a very visual book. I mean, it has a lot of plates about of manuscripts, a lot of photography about manuscripts, and it's actually a visual guide about the history of writing. It has a lot of manuscripts. So for me, this is one of the basics. So because it goes from Roman capitals to humanist scripts, to Italic, basically, to the Renaissance. So from the medieval, from the Roman Empire to the Renaissance. Also, what else? There's a book. It's not about calligraphy. It's about lettering, but
it works.
It has calligraphy. It's the ABC of custom lettering by Ivan Castro.
Okay. Yes.
Because Ivan in that book is teaching how to do lettering, but through calligraphy. It has some calligraphy models. It starts with Carolingian, also Roman capitals, with a broad edge nib, but without serif, sans serif. Black letter, italic, and brush lettering, brush pen calligraphy. It's a book mainly about lettering, but it starts with calligraphy. So I think it's a very nice book.
Well, I mean, this like Calligraphy Masters in general, it's not only about calligraphy. I mean, the main point is calligraphy, of course, but we also like love and support lettering and sign painting as well. So the book works as well.
Great.
Okay, you mentioned 2 books. Give me one more to make it 3.
One more. Let me think.
There's so many books behind you.
Yeah, I have a lot.
Is it all for calligraphy lettering or not only?
This shelf I have here, it's all about calligraphy, lettering, and typography. So
good.
yeah. Do you want me to recommend something advanced or something basic, or something?
You can do both. I don't know. Like there are probably different people listening, so you can pick one advanced and one basic.
Well, if you want to learn Roman capitals, The Origin of the Serif by Edward Katich, it's a great book.
Okay.
It is called The Origin of the Serif.
Yes, and this is for basic or advanced?
It's advanced because Roman capitals are for advanced calligraphers, but it's a very visual book also. It teaches how to do Roman capitals with a brush. but also with an historical way of thinking, or yeah, with a historical approach
Yeah.
also. Yeah, this is will be more advanced. Well, and there's a book about brush calligraphy. It is called Brush Lettering by Elisa Stultz
Okay.
and um, they are written by two women. They are Reeves and Stultz, and it's
Okay.
called Brush Lettering.
Okay. Great.
And this is I think that's the my first calligraphy book. I think, because
Okay.
when I started doing calligraphy with a brush pen, Ivan Castro recommended me that book. So yeah, that's one of my first books.
And I was thinking while watching my prints, do you have any prints, bro? Or you selling any prints of your work?
Yeah, on my online store, I have a linocut print made with Neuland.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check this. I'll leave also a link for the people who are interested.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
it's my online in my online store. There are some prints. Yeah, and the main one is that Neuland piece. That is a full. It's the introduction of the Mad Max film, the latest Mad Max film.
Oh, I remember this piece. It's on your Instagram.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
and mentioning your Instagram, I have another question. Like before, you were much more active on Instagram, and lately you're not that active. Is there a reason? Like I really miss seeing a lot of your work, and what's the
Yeah.
reason? Like why you're not uploading anymore?
Well, at the end of last year, I became a little bit overwhelmed on social media, because I was feeling that I had there was a lot of noise around me, a lot of and also I realized that I was spending a lot of time on social media, and because I I I I try to track the hours I spent on every project,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a nerd about productivity and everything, but I try to be very, very, very productive, or as productive as I can. And I realized I was spending a lot of time on social media, and I thought, well, actually, Instagram is not my way of living. I mean, Instagram is a way to share my work, but most of the most part of the commissions I received is from Behance. So because it's like more like an online portfolio, and
Yeah.
it's a mix of online portfolio and social network. It's for me, it's the perfect mix. And then I realized, well, I'm not getting a lot of money. O sea, I'm not getting money from Instagram
Yeah.
directly. So I rather focus on improving my calligraphy and working for clients and working and because there's a lot of work that I don't share, because they are very little, or I'm not very proud of the result, or because well, I mean, everyone has work that maybe it doesn't, because I'm done to do maybe logotypes, because I've done a lot of logotypes based on script lettering,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm tired of sharing the same thing, the same shit
I
every
see.
day. So I wanted to, yeah, I only sharing the things I'm very proud of.
So does this mean that you have more work showing on Behance than on Instagram?
More serious work on Behance than Instagram. Instagram, it it helps me to share my process. I
I see.
mean, I share a lot of process on Instagram stories.
Hmm.
I not no, I used to share daily my process on Instagram stories. Now, not I'm not so active, but maybe once a week or twice a week I share something on Instagram stories.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think now I'm since last December I'm kind of tired of social media. I'm yeah.
Tell me
I
about it, bro.
yeah, because I thought when and this was a sign when I remember one morning I opened Instagram, and then my heartbeat became increased, and I was very anxious. So for mental health, I decided to take a break from Instagram. I came back maybe in the early February or something like that. It was a 2 month break, but now I'm very chill about social media. I'm not in a rush.
Well, I've been so burnt out from all social media. Even the last 1 year on Instagram, Calligraphy Masters has been, I put some stuff for like few weeks and then I just go away for like weeks or
Yeah,
months. And I mean, I've been doing this 8 years, like every day, all social media, and I know what you're talking about. And
yeah, it's
it is
tricky because
exhausting. It's
yeah,
exhausting.
it's tricky because in some ways you need it to get some projects and to get some commissions on to get clients, but on the other hand, it's very dangerous for mental health. I think, and especially I started to notice this since the pandemic started. I became more mentally drowned, or with a brain fog, with mentally exhausted. So yeah, I'm trying to take it very easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's same. I have been so much depressions and whatnot, man, and it's all because
Yeah,
of this social media. Like I'm grateful
yeah.
because it helped me a lot to meet a lot of great people like you, to have everything that I've done with Calligraphy Masters. But at one point, it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah, I think you have to be very wise in terms of the way you spend your time,
Mm-hmm.
because I try to also to be very aware about how I'm spending my time, because it's we are we it's not it's limited. Our time is limited. We are I'm sorry to be a little bit with this sad
No,
content, but we are going we will die.
no, it's true.
One day we will die, and well, I don't want to spend a lot of time on things that maybe creates me anxiety, or create me, or can create me a burnout. The last thing I want to do is to be burnt out from the thing I'm making a living. I'm very lucky because I'm making a living from my passion. From
Mm-hmm.
I really love my work, and I think it's very sad if you get burnt out doing the thing that you really enjoy. So yeah.
No, this is very well said. I don't think it's sad at all. It's true. Like people have to remember we're gonna die, man. Because some people they live like they're never gonna die, and we are gonna die, and nobody knows when he's gonna die. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be over 15 years.
Yeah.
Nobody knows when he's gonna die. But this is very
Hmm.
well said. I totally agree with you, man.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel myself very lucky because, as you said, I've made a lot of good connections on social media, and it's there's a full community of people that are passionate about the same thing, and I think that's great. I've I've met a lot of great people like you, or other calligraphers, and sharing knowledge, and that's the great thing about that. But on the other hand, you have to take it's like drinking. You have to drink responsibly, so you have to use social media responsibly.
Okay, that was great. Okay, bro. Like, I mean, I love our talk, bro. I love this podcast, but I have 20 minutes left. I have no data.
Well,
So,
okay.
is there something you wanted to talk about, but I haven't asked you and you want really to share or talk about? I don't know. Like,
Well,
something that's coming up for you, if you want to promote something,
yeah.
if something
Mhm.
from your journey you want to share, or if you want to give advice or tip to the people which are going into this now.
I rather prefer to give some advice
Mm-hmm.
because well I prefer to give some knowledge or some tips or or
Of
some good
course.
content. So I mean for people that are starting, I the main skill about calligraphy or the main skill you can have doing calligraphy is patience.
Hmm.
Because learning calligraphy, the learning curve in calligraphy is very slow. I mean, yeah, you can have an instant result just by tracing with your nib, but to perfect it, you have to repeat and repeat over and over. So calligraphy is about repetition, it's about practice, it's about dedication. You have to practice daily, and for that you have to be very patient. You can't expect um, to be a calligraphy master in overnight. So you have to practice a lot. You have to put in the hours. So for that you need a lot of patience, a lot of patience, discipline, hard work, and yeah, and enjoy the ride, because I think it's important to enjoy the ride, to enjoy the process, and to be excited about learning new things, new techniques, to keep the flame alive.
Awesome, bro. This is great. uh Thank you all guys for watching. Thank you all guys for listening, and as always, keep writing.
Thank you. No, I'm very happy, and thank you for inviting me, because yeah, for me this is very exciting. My English, because I'm very it's a little bit rusty, because well, since I came back from London, I've been working lately for Spanish clients. I don't speak a lot of in English, but well.
Bro, I've explained this to other people as well. You know, like Calligraphy Masters audience, it's people from all over the world. Like there
Yeah,
is a
that's a
few,
little yeah.
it's a small percentage people from America
Mm,
and England, but majority of people were all over the place, man. No one of us speaks perfect English. So
that's beautiful. Yeah,
people appreciate,
yeah,
they don't listen to us like, oh, you didn't say this correct. They listen for what we share, you know.
yeah.
And
That's it. Nah, no worries. It's you can send me your address,
mhm.
and then I will send you a print. Yeah, no
Okay,
problem.
cool. I'll send you as well. And well, thank you, brother, for being the
Thank you,
guest.
Milen.
And see you. And I hope to see you soon in person as well, man. That'd be super
Yeah,
nice.
sure. I haven't traveled since the pandemic started.
Me too.
So, but
Me
yeah,
too.
I've only traveled to Barcelona and back. So and it's 4 hours away by train. It's not so far. Well, it's more 400 kilometers or something like that.
Wow.
But
Before pandemic, I used to go at least 1, 2 countries, and since this fucking
yeah,
pandemic, I've been only stuck in Bulgaria, and I'm going a bit crazy as well.
yeah, me too. It's been crazy, and I want to travel as soon as possible, as soon as I can,
Yeah,
because yeah, it's for the mental health, it's very important to get out and to yeah to disconnect also, because yeah, having
definitely.
yeah also I this is my home. I work at home. This
Same with
yeah,
me,
this is
man.
my office. So yeah, so I'm like in a cell, working in a cell in a prison. So
Cool, brother.
thank you,
Man,
Milan.
you made my day. I feel so nice right now.
Really? Well,
Yes,
thank
I,
you.
I
I'm
really
glad.
enjoy talking with you, brother.
Thank you. No, this likewise. I really enjoy having conversations with you. So yeah. Thank
Cool,
you
bro.
for having me on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk with you again. And whenever you want, you know how to find me.
Thank you, bro. Talk soon.